Disney, Ford, Hilton, Jordan. You maybe realize that those names of companies are also the names of people. Some people really manage to make a name for themselves in our world, don't they? So what about you? I'm guessing that you don't have any illusions of reaching a level of notoriety like that, and yet it's very natural for us to assume that if our lives are going to make a difference, at least a few people are going to remember our name. Today I want to talk to you about someone from the Bible who had managed to make a name for himself, but in a rather interesting way. His given name was Joseph, but we're told that the apostles had given him a nickname. They had nicknamed him Barnabas, which means son of encouragement. Today we'd probably say Mr. Encourager. Now, when we think of someone who is an encourager, we usually think of someone who picks other people up, but it can also refer to someone who speaks up for other people, someone who is an advocate. And on one occasion in particular, Barnabas proved himself to be worthy of that name. You see, Barnabas and the Apostle Paul had already taken one missionary tour together, along with a man by the name of John Mark. But on that first missionary tour, John Mark, for some reason, had deserted them. And so when it came time for Paul and Barnabas to take another missionary tour, Paul wanted nothing to do with John Mark. But Barnabas spoke up for him. Barnabas defended him. Barnabas served as his advocate. So here's what happened. Paul and Barnabas actually went their separate ways. The rest of the book of Acts is all about the Apostle Paul and the missionary travels that he took. Meanwhile, Barnabas and John Mark went off together, and even among the two of them, it was John Mark who became better known. We know John Mark from the book of the Bible that's named after him. We call it the Gospel according to Mark. So Paul and Mark end up in the Biblical Hall of Fame, and Barnabas, Mr. Encourager, he just sort of fades into the background. In a world where everyone is busy trying to make a name for themselves, working hard at making a name for someone else seems to be so counterproductive. Working to include someone who usually gets left out. Working to make sure that everyone on the team receives credit when the project is complete or the game is over. Working to defend someone who is being criticized. It's hard to see how God could use those small acts to have a big impact. But realize that whenever we serve as someone's advocate, we are doing the work that God Himself loves to do. When Jesus described the work that the Holy Spirit was going to do, He called Him an advocate. It's the Holy Spirit's job to speak to us about God. And when the Bible talks about the work that Jesus is doing right now up in heaven, it calls Him our advocate. It's Jesus' job to speak to God about us. 1 John says this: if anybody does sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ, the righteous one. Speaking up for others is the business of God. It's what He loves to do. And so if you're looking to make a name for yourself, work hard at making a name for someone else. Can you think of an example from your life when someone has spoken up for you and it's really made a difference? Feel free to comment below. We'll see you tomorrow.